Some games give you choices, others give you story. But these, they only want war. These are the titles that kick down the door, skip the tutorial, and put pure chaos front and center. No rest, no peace, just non-stop, in-your-face action. Every second is a test of your aim, your reflexes, your patience, and before you even realize it, you're trapped in a delicious cycle of violence that refuses to let go. I'm Jax, and if you're new here, welcome to the Play Hunters channel. I drop daily content so you never miss a thing from the gaming world. If you can subscribe to help me grow, I'd really appreciate it, from one gamer to another. But first, what was the last game that got your heart racing so bad you couldn't stop playing? The one that had you sweating, fully locked in, and suddenly realizing it was 3 a.m.? Let me know in the comments. Let's get started. Some games want to hug you, tell you a sad story, make you care about the world. Doom Eternal gives you a shotgun to the face and says run. That's it. You're dropped into a war between demons and humans, Earth already in ruins, and the only goal is to make everything bleed until peace returns. But even then, this game doesn't talk, doesn't explain, it just wants you to shoot a lot. There's no playing it safe. The whole screen becomes a battlefield with enemies flying at you from every direction, and a soundtrack that feels like it was made to scramble your brain. Every weapon matters, every shot hits hard. Stand still for 2 seconds and you're dead. You learn quickly. The only way to survive is to be even crueler than the demons you're fighting. And the craziest part? It's all perfectly timed. This isn't mindless violence. You need to move smart, pick the right weapons, know when to rip out a heart and when to blow off a head. It's absurd, but it's also strategic. When everything clicks, you hit a flow. The game won't stop, and neither will you. It's like your brain syncs with the metal soundtrack and goes full rage mode. This game doesn't want empathy. It wants rage. It wants you to scream, smash your controller, and then laugh as you dive in for another round. There's no room for thinking, just blood, bullets, and adrenaline. And sometimes, that's exactly what you need. Shadow Warrior 3 feels like a psychedelic nightmare with too many guns and zero breaks. It doesn't want you to understand the world or care about your enemies. The only thing clear is that everything needs to explode fast. Its humor is just as sharp as its kills are ridiculous. And the pace? Imagine someone jamming the accelerator and snapping the pedal clean off. Combat throws swords, guns, and acrobatics into a non-stop blur of carnage. You're wall running, leaping across gaps, tossing tooth-filled grenades, and slicing monsters like they're lunch. The game begs you not to think, just react. And when you realize you're smiling without even knowing why, it's already too late. The story, if you can call it that, is just an excuse to throw you at the weirdest, wildest creatures possible. But none of that matters, because the real hook is the combat. Every arena becomes an insane playground where chaos is the only rule. It's the kind of game that laughs with you and at you every step of the way. In the end, Shadow Warrior 3 doesn't want to be remembered as deep. It wants to be that game where you screamed alone in your room while mashing every button and loving every second. And it nails that with pride. When Stellar Blade was first revealed, it looked like just another flashy action game. But what surprises is how it wraps all that style in elegant brutality. Grotesque enemies, towering bosses, and a lead character who's got zero time for mercy, no fluff, no filler, just a mission, and everything in the way turns to dust. The world is a mix of ruined tech and shattered landscapes from some ancient tragedy. Everything feels heavy, like it's soaked in silence. But the game doesn't pause to mourn. It wants you to move forward. Sword in hand, eyes cold, combat demands precision. Every move is part of a deadly dance. Miss, you die. Nail it, it's beautiful. What gets you hooked is the power. The game knocks you down, challenges you, but when you finally master the combat, it rewards you with moments that feel like pure intensity. Boss fights are epic, timing is surgical, and every new battle makes you feel sharper, deadlier, like the game is forging you, not just entertaining you. Stellar Blade is violent, yes, but it's violence with purpose, rhythm, and style. It's not about blowing things up, it's about cutting them down perfectly. And once you hit that combat flow, the outside world disappears completely. It's been a while since a game threw you into chaos as fast as Trepang 2. The intro hits like a punch to the face. You wake up locked up, memories wiped, and powers that make you feel like a shadowy assassin. Seconds later, you're slicing through soldiers like smoke. No tutorials, no hand-holding, just raw mayhem. It feels like a love letter to old-school PS3-era shooters, bloody, brutal, and choreographed like an action movie on crack. What makes it special is the mix of invisibility, slow motion, and total destruction. You don't just kill, you erase enemies with flair. Every room is a stage, and you're the silent villain dancing through gunfire. But it's the atmosphere that keeps you. The heavy music, the dark corridors, the whispers. You're not just an experiment, you're a living weapon trying to uncover who made you. And the deeper you go, the darker it all gets. It's not mindless violence, there's something rotten underneath. A web of science, soldiers, and something not human. Trepping 2 doesn't need long cutscenes to tell its story. It uses silence, scenery, and blood. And when everything explodes, literally, you can't help but feel like you're controlling a monster, one that only wants to know who it is, and destroy everything on the way to that truth. Wolfenstein 2 doesn't hold back, and I'm not just talking about the gore. The story punches you in the gut with brutal themes, shocking scenes, and characters that bleed humanity. You play as a broken man, physically and emotionally, trying to fight back against a Nazi regime that won the war and turned the world into a nightmare. It's personal, it's political, it's vicious. The writing hits as hard as the gunplay. There's no filler. You see the protagonist's past, his losses, his trauma, and the game makes you sit with it. But between the pain, it delivers some of the best shooting of the generation. Dual-wielding chaos, enemies everywhere, destructible environments, shootouts that feel like choreographed war. And the world around you, a twisted mirror of reality. The villains aren't monsters, they're people, which makes it worse. You walk through streets filled with propaganda, see American cities under Nazi rule, watch horror shows where fear has won. The setting never lets you forget why you're fighting, and the story reminds you what it costs. This game doesn't hide behind gameplay. It throws you into moral gray areas, disturbing choices, and gut-wrenching truths, all while being one of the most intense and violent games you'll ever play. Wolfenstein wants you to fight with bullets, with words, with fury, and when it ends, you realize it was never just a shooter. Returnal doesn't give you time to breathe. From the second your ship crashes on that alien planet, everything starts falling apart and never stops. With every death, the world changes. Enemies evolve, and scariest of all, so do you. The story isn't spoon-fed, it's fragmented, symbolic, full of whispers and warped memories, like waking from a nightmare, unsure what was real. Gameplay mirrors that looping hell. Combat is fast, precise, and brutal. Each room is a new test. The weapons feel alive, the enemies move like hunters, and the world breathes hostility. Just when you think you've figured it out, it changes again. Returnal constantly pokes at your nerves, testing how long you can keep fighting before you break. But the hook is the mystery. What's really happening? Who are you deep down? Each run reveals a little more memories of an ordinary life mixed with cosmic horrors. A house, a child, a tragedy. Nothing is clear. Everything is felt. That's what makes it powerful. It asks you to put the story together in this personal descent into madness. In the end, Returnal isn't just about dying and trying again. It's about accepting what can't be changed, facing the past as your deadliest enemy, and fighting forward anyway, with style, brutality, and an atmosphere you'll never forget. Atomic Heart kicks off with a wild promise, a retro-futuristic world where the Soviet Union became a technological superpower. And right from the start, you realize that this utopia is nothing but a facade. Things fall apart fast. Killer robots, twisted experiments, abandoned science labs, and a protagonist who talks more than he understands. The story is a sci-fi fever dream, part communist nightmare, part rogue AI, all layered with grotesque mutations and mind-bending twists. What grabs you first is the style. It feels ripped straight from a 1950s Soviet propaganda poster, fused with BioShock. The robot designs, the massive architecture, the decaying labs, it all oozes personality. But that charm quickly gives way to chaos. You're thrown into brutal shootouts, bizarre puzzles, and boss fights that feel like something out of a mad scientist's worst dream. And even when the action slows, the unease never lets go. The protagonist and his talking glove are constantly bickering. Their sarcastic back and forth gives the journey a unique tone. The story touches on social critique, questions the morality of science, and tosses philosophical ideas into the middle of all the madness. But it's when the game pulls back the curtain on the utopian project that it truly hits. Nothing was ever built for people. It's all about control. Atomic Heart isn't subtle, it's loud, grotesque, and unapologetically over the top, and that's exactly how it wants to be remembered. When it ends, you feel like you've visited a world polished on the outside and rotting within, a place where progress was just another form of domination, and the only way out was to blow it all up. From the very first second, Devil May Cry 5 throws you straight into chaos. a city being consumed by demonic roots, and three characters facing the end of the world the only way they know how, with sarcasm, style, and physics-defying attacks. The story follows their intertwined paths through demons, secrets, and personal struggles that cut deeper than the combat. And somehow, between all the over-the-top action, it still lands real emotional weight, especially near the end. The gameplay, a masterclass in stylish action. Each character has their own tempo and mechanics, turning every stage into a different kind of show. You don't play because you have to. You play because it's fun, smooth, and visually insane. Every S-rank kill feels like a standing ovation. Even when you mess up, you're itching to try again, just to make it even flashier. The violence here becomes an art form. The world is dark but polished with signature flair, level design is straight to the point, but the story unfolds through sharp dialogue and perfectly timed reveals. There's emotional weight, especially if you've followed the franchise, but even newcomers will quickly grasp the core: family, sacrifice, and redemption in the face of hell. It's more than just a stylish brawler. Devil May Cry 5 delivers everything it promises: brutal combat, unforgettable characters, and a story that never tries to be more than it needs to be, and somehow it still hits exactly where it should. Pure adrenaline with heart. Sifu opens with a scene that sets the tone instantly. Someone who's lost everything, training in silence for years, just to settle the score. At its core, it's a revenge story, but not the easy kind. Every enemy, every dodge, every cleared room feels heavy. The journey isn't just against those who destroyed your family, it's against time itself. Literally. The game's aging mechanic is genius. Each death brings you back older, wiser, stronger, but more fragile. It turns every fight into a high-stakes decision. Winning becomes a race against the clock, and losing means shaving years off your remaining life. It's not just about skill, it's about strategy, mental and physical endurance. The environments are stunning. From neon-lit clubs to museum hallways, each stage has its own style and challenge. And the combat? Brutal, grounded, and intense. No superpowers, just your fists and what you've learned. Dialogue is minimal, but presence is everything. You feel the past weighing on you. There's no room for forgiveness, only resolve. Sifu is about discipline, about getting up not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And when you finally reach the end, it doesn't feel like you just beat the game. It feels like you survived it. God of War 3 opens exactly where the last one left off, Kratos climbing Mount Olympus atop the Titan Gaia, hell-bent on destroying every god in the Greek pantheon. There's no slow burn, this is pure, unfiltered vengeance. Every step is a scream of rage against those who betrayed him. But beneath all that fury lies something deeper. Kratos doesn't just want power, he wants justice for all he's lost. Combat is a brutal spectacle. The blades of chaos feel alive, slicing with a will of their own. Each divine power adds a new layer of destruction. Boss fights against gods are epic, cinematic, and creatively unhinged, throwing you into set pieces that redefine scale. Every god you defeat reshapes the world: earthquakes, floods, total collapse. The settings are loaded with symbolism and grandeur. You move through mythological landscapes that feel like oil paintings on the brink of destruction. And somehow, even in the middle of all the chaos, the game finds time for quiet reflection. Kratos confronts his past, and the trilogy ends with real emotional weight. God of War 3 isn't just a bombastic finale, it's the final chapter of a rage that consumed everything, including the man who carried it. Midnight Fight Express is urban violence on fast forward. You wake up as a regular guy in a city run by gangs, and within minutes you're dragged into a wild plan to save it before sunrise. Guided by a mysterious AI voice, you punch, kick, and smash your way through an endless wave of chaos. The story seems simple at first, but slowly twists into something far more urgent and unpredictable. Combat is lightning fast. You enter a room and within seconds you're surrounded, but it doesn't matter. You grab chairs, bottles, anything you can, and turn it into a weapon. The fighting system is smooth, combining gritty brawling with the rhythm of a wild action flick. Every move feels choreographed, but it's all you, pure satisfying impact. The levels are varied and full of personality. Abandoned subways, neon-lit alleys, underground clubs, office towers, all wrapped in a slick visual style and a thumping soundtrack that keeps your pulse up. And in between the carnage, the game still finds room for sarcasm, jokes, and even a few quiet questions about who you were before all this. Midnight Fight Express is like a perfect punch, simple, sharp, and unforgettable. It doesn't aim to be deep, it just wants to be brutal, and it nails it. Tales of Arise begins in a world literally split in two, one planet enslaving the other for generations, separated by a barrier of pain, silence, and fear. At first glance, it's a story about liberation, but it quickly becomes something more, about breaking free from trauma, from who you were, from what you were told to be. The cast, each scarred in their own way, comes together not just for a cause, but for connection. And what starts as war becomes something deeply human. Combat is fast, fluid, and visually striking. Every character brings a unique style, and switching between them mid-fight becomes addictive. It's all about mastering combos, unleashing abilities, and flowing together as a team. But what really keeps you going is how the story flows between the action. There's always a quiet moment, a meaningful exchange, a scene that pulls you in. The world is stunning. From harsh deserts to glowing crystal forests, each area evolves alongside the narrative. Cities breathe, environments react, and every new region uncovers more of the characters' pasts and their futures. The music, the dialogue, it all builds a sense of depth that lingers. Tales of Arise delivers a mature story in a gorgeously stylized action RPG, a rare balance between heart and thrill. Metal Hellsinger isn't trying to tell you a story, it wants you to feel the fury. You're a trapped entity in hell, driven only by the voice of vengeance. You don't quite remember who you were, only that something took everything from you. And now, with a talking skull as your guide, you're blasting through the 9 circles of hell to the rhythm of pure metal. Every enemy you kill pulls you deeper, closer to the truth, closer to reclaiming what you lost. The catch? You don't just shoot, you shoot on beat. Hit the rhythm and your damage multiplies. The music explodes and special abilities kick in. Miss the beat, you lose your momentum. It's gameplay that demands focus and rewards you with pure catharsis. The way music, movement, and gunplay blend turns it all into a hypnotic, hellish dance. The visuals are straight out of hell. Cathedrals made of bones, flaming abysses, blood-drenched fortresses. Every level has a strong identity and pairs perfectly with the original metal tracks sung by real metal bands. You can't play without feeling it, headbanging your way through wave after wave. At its core, Metal Hellsinger is about rhythm, rage, and redemption. It doesn't scream at you, it screams for you. Dead Rising 4 takes us back to the same town as the first game, but the tone is totally different. The mall is now just a piece of the madness. The whole city has become a playground for the zombie apocalypse. The story kicks off with a journalistic investigation gone horribly wrong, and suddenly, you're trapped in a new outbreak. The government's involved, secrets are everywhere, and sarcasm is off the charts. Everything's over the top, from the main character to weapons made out of toys, fire, and snowblades. But behind the absurdity, there's something unsettling. Your hometown, now unrecognizable, holds both memories and threats. You feel there's more going on than it seems, and even though the humor never stops, there's a sharp critique of consumerism, media, and how we turn the end of the world into entertainment. It's weird, but it works. The gameplay is fast, filled with bizarre tools and chaotic fights. Nothing is normal, and every new item becomes a deadly toy. What really hooks you is the flow, slaughtering zombies in creative ways, while feeling the weight of a crumbling city. You're in control, but also alone in something much bigger. Dead Rising 4 is less about survival and more about having fun with the apocalypse. A game that mixes satire, carnage, and chaos like no other. Dead Island 2 begins in full chaos. Los Angeles is under quarantine, and you're one of the few survivors, but here's the twist. You've been bitten. Instead of turning, something inside you fights back. That changes everything and becomes the core of the story. Why are you immune? Who else knows? And will this save or doom the city? The plot blends brutal action with light twists and always leaves you with a sense that something is seriously off beneath the surface. The violence is off the charts. Every hit feels heavy. Every weapon rips through flesh with grotesque detail. But beyond the blood, there's a smart system underneath, solid progression, character variety, and addictive pacing. You feel powerful, but never invincible. There's always danger waiting for one mistake. Los Angeles is divided into open districts full of personality. From Hollywood mansions to rotting sewers, every place feels stylized, but real. There's satire, but also commentary. You can feel this outbreak wasn't just random, something rotten is hiding underneath. Dead Island 2 delivers a blood-soaked ride with purpose, a game that laughs at the chaos while hiding a story full of loose ends and uncomfortable truths. Warhammer 40k Boltgun kicks down the door, shoves a gun in your hand, and yells, "Go!" It's a love letter to 90s shooters, fast-paced firefights, pixel art gore, and no time for hand-holding. The story? Simple. You're a space marine sent to purge heresy in the most brutal way possible. And honestly, that's all it needs. The gameplay is absurdly satisfying. Every gun feels heavy, every enemy explodes in glorious chunks, and the loop is perfect. You run, shoot, reload, repeat. But it never gets boring, because the rhythm is so tightly tuned you slip into pure flow state. It's the kind of shooter made by people who get what makes this genre addictive. Levels are big, maze-like, and packed with secrets. It's got that old-school feel with just the right amount of modern polish, like if Doom was remade with Warhammer's brutality. The vibe is heavy, industrial, soaked in sacred ruins and decaying tech. Every hallway screams war. Boltgun is pure controlled chaos, a game that knows its fans want action, gore, and speed, and gives it to them without a single apology. Vanquish feels like a game permanently stuck on fast forward. Originally released in 2010 and later remastered in the quality it deserves, it throws you into a collapsing dystopian future. Governments, alliances, and patience for slow combat are all gone. You play as an agent in a prototype suit that lets you slide across battlefields like you're on a futuristic racetrack. And that's exactly what makes it stand out. Speed, movement, and mayhem fused into something explosive. The story might seem like background noise at first, but it's layered military conspiracies, power plays, and a war that hides more than the headlines say. It doesn't go for deep emotional beats, but it keeps you hooked. You want to know who's really pulling the strings, what the mission's true purpose is, and if anyone's actually on the right side. But it's the gameplay that makes Vanquish shine. Forget static cover and predictable firefights. This is about moving, reacting fast, and using the environment as part of your attack. The sliding mechanic, slow-mo aiming, and varied arsenal turn every fight into a chaotic ballet. Even today, few games can match that level of pure control at high speed. Vanquish doesn't try to please everyone. It knows exactly what it is, a shot of adrenaline wrapped in metal and smoke. The remaster just proves that when it comes to high-octane action, it's still a masterclass. Mad Max is the definition of organized chaos. A post-apocalyptic world where everything revolves around gas, scrap, and survival. The story starts with Max losing everything, his car, his weapons, his dignity, and the game gives you the task of rebuilding it all, almost like a metaphor for rebuilding his own sanity. Every step is a fight against crazed gangs, desert-mutated freaks, and the constant feeling that someone's always hunting you. What really hooks you isn't just the action, it's the atmosphere. You feel the sand, the heat, the emptiness in every corner of the map. Max is a broken man, and that comes through in every choice, every silence, and how the world reacts to him. The story is simple but full of subtext. Instead of long dialogue scenes, it tells its story through looks, ruined landscapes, and raw brutality. The car combat is one of the most satisfying parts. You build your ride, use harpoons, crash enemies mid-chase. It's dynamic and instinctive. On foot, hand-to-hand combat is heavy and brutal, with each hit making you feel the impact. This isn't a hero's journey. It's about a survivor trying to find peace in a world that forgot what peace is. Even with some technical limits and repetition, Mad Max wins you over through sheer immersion. You step into that wasteland and forget real life for hours. It's a raw fight for justice, starring a man who gave up on the world but still tries to make something right. If one word defines Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, it's respect. Respect for a time when games threw you into the fire and expected you to crawl out covered in blood and smiling. This collection brings back 3 of the most brutal action games in recent memory, unapologetically sharp and true to their legacy. Each game has its own tone revenge missions, supernatural conspiracies, secret ninja wars, but more than the stories, it's about the rhythm. Combat is a real test of reflexes and precision. There's no room for sloppiness, slash, dodge, block, win, or die trying. The learning curve is cruel, but addictive. Even as remasters, they keep that raw, stylized aesthetic, with fights that feel like real-time death dances. The graphics got light updates, but the essence stays. Every enemy is a mini-boss in disguise. Let your guard down and you're done. But when you master the system, it's like dancing with death, fast, precise, and beautiful. There's a strange beauty in the chaos of this trilogy. These games don't hold your hand or explain every move. They throw you into the pit and wait to see if you'll climb out. The reward? The unmatched satisfaction of beating something you thought was impossible. Ninja Gaiden isn't for everyone, but if you stick with it, you'll understand why it's legendary. Space Marine 2 doesn't talk, it roars. From the very first second, you feel the weight of the armor, the deafening noise of the weapons, and the pressure of a battlefield with zero mercy. The war against the Tyranids turns every mission into a bloodbath. and the game doesn't hold your hand. The pace is relentless, enemies come in waves, and everything demands precision, brutality, and instinct. Being efficient isn't enough, you have to be ruthless. The narrative keeps expanding the Warhammer 40k universe with that signature grim tone only this franchise delivers. Don't expect long dialogues or moments of reflection. The goal is to show the horror of war at an overwhelming scale and how one soldier can make all the difference. The environments reflect this constant tension with ravaged planets, collapsing structures, and enemies that never seem to stop. Everything pulses with violence, fanaticism, and chaos. Gameplay is a powerful mix of ranged firepower and brutal melee combat, switching between heavy gunfire and surgical strikes with a blade. What's wild is how, even in the chaos, the controls feel tight and every move lands with impact. Slicing a creature in half or blowing up a horde with a clean shot feels ridiculously satisfying. This is a game that rewards aggression but punishes even a moment of hesitation just as hard. Space Marine 2 comes in with a clear mission to be bigger, more intense, and bloodier than the original, and it looks like it'll absolutely deliver. It's not about being a hero, it's about being the last wall between humanity and oblivion. If you're into non-stop action, this one is pure fuel for your rage. Dante's Inferno doesn't hold back. It takes Dante Alighieri's divine comedy, twists it into a revenge epic, and throws you into hell. No breaks, no filter, just brutality. It starts with a knight returning from war, only to find his beloved murdered and her soul dragged into the underworld. Without hesitation, he storms the gates of hell to bring her back. What grabs you immediately is the design. Each circle of hell is a grotesque, haunting visual of human sin. You feel like you're in the wrong place, and yet you can't look away. The story unfolds as Dante faces his own horrors, slowly revealing he's far from innocent himself. That complexity gives the journey real weight. Combat is fast and vicious, inspired by God of War, filled with heavenly powers, brutal executions, and massive bosses. But what holds the game together is its symbolism. The levels reflect greed, lust, wrath, each enemy designed to embody those sins. You're not just fighting monsters, you're battling ideas, fears, judgments, guilt. Despite some technical limits of its time, Dante's Inferno remains a bold, intense ride. A game that went all in and delivered a hellish spectacle, both in action and in emotion. A descent into hell that's absolutely worth every second. The Callisto Protocol felt like a dream come true for anyone who missed that suffocating space horror vibe in the spirit of Dead Space. The atmosphere is unsettling, even before the first scare. A maximum security prison on Jupiter's moon where everything's gone horribly wrong. You feel the isolation, the grime, the weight of the unknown in the air. And worst of all, the creatures roaming those halls aren't just monsters. They're constant reminders that humanity, in this place, became something twisted. The story starts out intriguing, dropping hints about conspiracies, experiments, and a colony collapse, but the pacing stumbles as jump scares take priority over deeper narrative development. Still, there's a constant sense of danger, and the game shines when it comes to building oppressive, claustrophobic environments. Every room feels like a waking nightmare. You don't walk, you survive. Combat is brutal and weighty, and part of the tension comes from having to face enemies up close. It's not just about shooting from a distance. You need to dodge, strike, and try to keep control amid the chaos. That system split opinions. Some loved the raw violence, while others felt the clunky feel broke the flow. But when it clicks, the sense of surviving the impossible is very real. The Callisto Protocol delivers a bloody, unrelenting horror with striking visuals and constant fear in the air. It may have stumbled in a few design choices, but when it gets it right, it reminds you why space horror still has so much power. It's ugly, tense, and deeply unsettling, exactly how this genre should be. If you made it this far, it's clear you love games that never go easy on you. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any more insane lists like this one. And drop a comment, which of these games left you breathless? Or is there another one you think deserved a spot? And hey, if you're into stylish combat, absurd moves, and blades flying everywhere, don't miss our video on the best hack and slash games to play in 2025. It's a must watch. Big hug, enjoy your games, and see you tomorrow.